Hello Year 6 students and welcome to the English department at OABY Year. We look forward to seeing you soon. My name is Miss Goodall, I'm the second in department and I'm going to talk you through some poetry today and a bit of an introduction to the English department and what we do in Year 7. So, what do you think you know about or already know about studying English? And what do you think we perhaps might study over the next 5 years? Now, at any point during this video, your teacher can, of course, pause the video. You can have a discussion. Your teacher can lead that. You can lead it yourselves. Whatever works best for you and your school. So have a think about what you think we might be doing in English at our Academy Bidales. Now, hopefully, you might have guessed that we read books and poems and plays. And also that we do lots of different types of writing. We look at different extracts and things like that. And do you know the difference between English literature and English language? Because you study both of those GCSEs here at Bidales, just as you would in any other secondary school. So what do you think the difference is between English language GCSE and English literature GCSE? I like some. So, English literature is when we study poems and plays and we read novels and we read different types of literature. English language is when we create our own work, so our own letters and diaries, and when we read perhaps some non-fiction extracts or occasionally some more modern fiction. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at a poem called The Night Mail by W.H. Auden. I have sent a copy of this to your teacher and a worksheet, but if they don't have it for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. We can manage without it for this session. Okay, so we're going to read the poem The Night Mail and explain what happens in the poem, but we're also aiming to read and actually analyse some of the poem The Night Mail and retrieve relevant information from the poem. In Year 7, generally, we study The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas. There is the possibility that some of you have read it before, or seen it before, or at least heard of it. It's a brilliant novel. Our students really enjoy it, even if they have previously looked at it before. We do a lot of very Year 7, slightly more mature work with it, and it's very thought-provoking. We also look at transactional writing. I mentioned some of that earlier when we look at sort of diary writing and letter writing, building on what you've done in primary school, pushing you forward. We look at portraits of people poetry. So that's lots of different poems by lots of different poets and different cultures and men and women. It's a really great unit of work. It really gets you thinking. And if you think poetry is not for you, there's a poem there for everybody. Okay? And we also look at the Great Victorian Murder Mystery. We look at the Speckled Band at Sherlock Holmes' case. It's very exciting. We look at Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare towards the end of the year, and we also do what's called accelerated reader. So that's when you're reading every week, you're doing guided reading with your teacher and building on your love of reading you hopefully got from primary school. We have a brilliant library with excellent librarians to give you lots of advice and move you forward with your reading and keep up the great work you've done at primary school. So moving on, we're going to look at the poem The Night Mail by W.H. Auden. I'm doing my best to sort of manage this. I'm not used to doing this on video, so please bear with me, Year 7. If you have me in September as a teacher, hopefully I'll be a bit less like that. Anyway, so we're going to look at the poem together. I do have a reading of the poem, which is going to come onto the board now. You can listen to it more than once. There are other readings. Someone in your class could read it out loud. It's quite long. You can take it in turns. Your teacher could read it. I don't mind. Whatever works best for you in your class. But the poem is called The Night Mail. Mail, M-A-I-L. So think about, what might it be about? It's a bit of a clue. There is a picture of a train on the board. It's a little bit hard to see with the lighting in here today. It's quite sunny today here in Mask. Okay, I'm going to play you the rather dramatic reading. So listen carefully. If you've got your poem, have it in front of you. You can follow it as we go along. Or you might want to watch the pictures on the screen.
This is the night mail crossing the border, bringing the check and the postal order, letters for the rich, letters for the poor, the shop at the corner and the girl next door, pulling up beat at a steady train heads against her, but she is on time. Past cotton grass and wool on the boulder, shoveling white steam over her shoulder, snorting noisily as she passes, silent miles of wind-bent grasses. Birds turn their heads as she approaches, stare from the bushes at her black-faced coaches. Sheepdogs cannot turn her course, they slumber on with paws across. In the farm she passes, no one wakes but a jug in a bedroom gently shakes. Storm freshen. The climb is dark. Down towards Glasgow, she said. Towards the steam tugs, yelping down the blade of cranes. Towards the fields of apparatus, the furnaces, set on the dark plain like gigantic chessmen. All Scotland waits for her. In the dark glens, beside the pale green sea logs, men long for news. Letters of thanks, letters from parents, letters of joy from the girl and the boy, received bills and invitations to inspect new stock of visit relations and applications, situations and template numbers, declarations and gossip from all the nations, new substantial, news financial, letters from holiday snaps to enlarging, letters from faces, scrolls from margin, letters from uncles, cousins and aunts, letters to Scotland and south of France, letters of condolence to Highlands and Lowlands, from overseas to Hebrides, written on paper of every hue, the pink, the black, the white and the blue, the chatty, the boring, the food, the fish, the hearts, the boring, never stupid, short and long, the title, the fitting, spelled and watch. Thousands are still asleep, dreaming of terrifying monsters, of friendly tea beside the band of Cransons or Crawfords. Asleep in working Glasgow, asleep in well-set Edinburgh, asleep in Granny Aberdeen. They continue their dreams, but shall wake soon and long for letters, and none will hear the postman's knock without a quickening of the heart. But who can bear to feel himself forgotten?
So, like I said, it's a bit dramatic, the reading of the poem. So you should hopefully have a poem in front of you, or perhaps your teacher can put it on the board for you. But it is on these slides, and there's some inspiration for you. There's some checks and things like that. So if you've got your worksheet with you, have a look at it now, please. If you haven't, I'm going to ask you some questions, and your teacher can pause the video and take some responses, and then I'll give you what I think are probably the answers that a group of Year 7 sat in front of me, if you were here now, would give me, or a group of Year 6 is coming up for some transition work. So, your first question is, what is the night mail? What is it? Have a think. Now, if you're here in front of me, I would choose a couple of people to answer that question and build each other's answers. We don't really do hands up here. So, I can't do that. So, your teacher might want to do that. But hopefully, you've got the idea that the night mail is a train that carries all of the post overnight so that it can be then given out to the recipients, to the people getting the post the next day or a few days after it's been sent. It travels all over the country. This one is going up to Scotland. Okay. Your next question. This is the night mail crossing the border. Explain what the border is. What is a border? Where in the poem do you think the border is? Where in the world is this border? So hopefully you picked up that sort of Edinburgh and Aberdeen and Glasgow I mentioned. And so the train is travelling from England up into Scotland, so going over the border between the two countries, okay, to deliver post to Scotland. The train travels through different kinds of countryside. I need to wait for your question there, sorry. Name 3 features of the countryside that are mentioned in verse 2. Now, on the layout of the poem that I've got, it's the little verses that are all split up near the top, okay? So, name 3 features of the countryside. So, perhaps pause the video, have a little look, discuss it. How do you know it's talking about the countryside? Have a little think. So when I've gone through the poem, I've written down that I think it is cotton grass, moorland boulders. You know what boulders are? Great big rocks up on the moors. And wind-bent grasses. Definite country feel there, the vocabulary that W.H. Auden has used. Okay, your next question. It says, 2 lines of the poem. Sheepdogs cannot turn her course. They slumber on with paws across. So dogs are sleeping with their paws crossed, probably their chins on their paws. So, which of the words below best describes the meaning of slumber? Tick one of them. So is it run, dream, sleep, or snore? So which best describes the word slumber? Run, dream, sleep, or snore? Hopefully you got the word sleep. Okay, so the dogs are asleep, and obviously sheepdogs usually do what? What do we use sheepdogs for? That's right, to herd and direct sheep. So saying the dogs can't direct where the train's going, the train's just carrying on, the dogs are asleep. Okay? And in verse 2, why is this jug in the bedroom shaking? So in the middle of the night, when everyone's still asleep and this train is passing by, why is a jug on a shelf, perhaps, or on a chest of drawers? Why would that be shaking? I've written down that I think it's probably from the vibrations of the train on the track nearby, and it's making it judder and shake in the night. But the people in the houses are probably so used to it that they don't wake up. Okay, I'll give you a little bit of time to do this question. So, find and copy 2 different lines from verse 1 or verse 2 where the poet uses personification. I'm going to pause you for a minute here because you probably need to have a quick chat amongst yourselves, maybe with your teacher, about what you think personification is. So task 1, please. What is personification? Who can tell someone else in the classroom what it is? And then task 2, can you find 2 different examples? There are lots of examples towards the start of the poem. So can you find 2 examples of personification linked to the train? So I found the gradients against her, so the hill, but she's on time. I also found over her shoulder, like shoveling white steam over her shoulder. And there's lots of examples of she passes. So it's making the train sound female, making the train sound like a woman, and that she's on this journey. Okay, so that's personification, giving this object, this train that's not alive, human qualities and making it appear alive. Okay, love a bit of personification here, I'm sure you do too. At the beginning of verse 3, the train leaves the open countryside and leaves it behind. What would you see if you looked out of the train window at this point in the journey? So have a good look at verse 3. I'll read it to you now. Dawn freshens, her climb is done. Down towards Glasgow she descends, towards the steam tugs yelping down a glade of cranes, towards the fields of apparatus, the furnaces set on the dark plain like gigantic chessmen. All Scotland waits for her. In dark glens, beside pale green blocks, men long for news. So the train's going into Scotland, but how has it changed? What would you see at this point? Have a conversation, please. Find some evidence from your poem. What words tell you what you would see at this point? So I've written on my sheet that we would see the city of Glasgow. Okay? That we would see a city. We would see steam tugs. Do you know what steam tugs are? So steam tugs will be on the river and on the sea, and they are steamboats. Okay, little tugboats. Cranes, you probably know what cranes are, so there's lots of industry around that part of the world. Machines and furnaces, great big furnaces, sort of melting down metal and things like that, coal furnaces. This poem was written a long time ago, it was about 80 years ago. So very industrial, that's what we would see. From this countryside we've just been in on the train, we would then be seeing the city landscape, lots of industrialisation. Okay, your next question. What different kinds of mail is the train carrying? And can you name 5? Feel free to find some more. Depends how much room you've got on your sheet and how much time your teacher can give you to do all this. There is a lot of mail in this train, so this would be a really great point to pause the video and have a discussion. A, what types can you find? B, do you know what they all mean? Can you definitely write down 5? And can you add some extra ones as a bit of a challenge? So a few I've got on my sheet are letters of thanks, letters from banks, okay, and letters of joy, so it could be lovely news from a family or a friend, receipts and bills, less joyful, invitations or just some news, but there are so many. And this great big verse here, I'll just take it back. You've got these letters of thanks, you've got applications, you've got timid lovers, declarations, people telling each other they love each other, gossip, lots of different things. Hopefully you've got this. News circumstantial, news financial, so lots and lots of news. You've got holiday news, you've got people drawing in the margins, you've got letters from relations, letters to Scotland from the south of France, condolence if something sad's happened, and saying people are sorry for something. You've got things from overseas, so the Hebrides, so islands right at the top of Scotland, written on paper of every hue. So I love that idea of all these different coloured letters, sort of packed in this train, and all different news and exciting things, some sad things, just lots of variety. Imagine what the information that train would hold, and it's all mysteriously going overnight and then be delivered to everybody. It's quite exciting, really, I think. So let's go back to our question. We've got all these different types of news, and hopefully you've written down at least 5 and had a discussion about them. Okay, because you guys probably don't get very much post at home. You personally probably don't get much at all. You don't tend to when you're a child. When I was a child, I got a little bit more. People sent more letters. That's a question that's going to pop up in a minute. So, what does the poem tell us people will do when they wake from their dreams? So this is right near the end of the poem, in the last verse. What does it say people will do when they wake up? That's right. Hopefully you've got that they are longing for letters, they're longing for news. Especially all that exciting news and information in the train. No wonder they're longing to know what the postman might bring. And then finally, our final question today, before I ask you a couple of other ideas about this poem. W.H. Auden wrote this poem in 1936, way before I was born, and your teacher, way before my mum was born, just after my granny was born, so a long time ago, okay? Explain why you think people then were much more excited about receiving their mail or their post 80 sort of years ago than they were today. Why has it changed so much? Okay? Have a little think. Why are we less excited by the post? Do you ever get any post? Is it exciting if you do? Might be. You might get great posts. You might have someone that often writes to you or sends you things. That's lovely post. You might have got a lot of posts over the last few weeks to your house that you wouldn't normally get because people have been sending a lot more posts when we've not been out of our houses as much. People have been keeping each other going with nice posts and parcels. So have a really great conversation now about when you get post. Has your post increased? Why would people like getting post so much then? What's the difference? And hopefully you've got something along the lines of, obviously people then didn't have mobile telephones. A lot of people wouldn't have had phones in their houses. Very few people in the 1930s would have had their own telephone. Sort of ordinary people. Rich people did in some businesses, but most people didn't. They didn't have emails because people didn't have computers. So they didn't have that quick communication that we have now. But what they did have was this love of communicating via letter or mail, as it's described in the poem. So it's that idea of sending your news in a slightly slower way, but actually not that slow, because it's going on a really fast train from England up to Scotland, for example, or it might have arrived from France to like Dover on a boat, and then it might be put onto the train, and then imagine that's such an exciting journey that letter's had from all around the world. Some of you might have had pen pals in the past. So have a think about now, as your last sort of thought of the day for this lesson, when do you get post? If you get quite a lot, who is it from? What's it about? Do you ever send any post? How is your postal experience different from perhaps your parents? Do they send and receive a lot of post? Have your experiences with the post changed over the last few weeks? Have you been getting letters and parcels? I know I've got a lot more parcels come to my house. I've sent more things. I've sent things to my nieces. I've sent a couple of things to my mum, who doesn't live that near me. I've sent a couple of cards to people. I send birthday cards in the post anyway. So who do you get post from in your household? Maybe you never get any. Would you like to send someone some post? Have a think about it, have a talk about it. Maybe as a class you could come up with something that you'd quite like to do and send some post. You could write some letters to next year's Year 6s. So have a think about it. Could you write a letter to a relation and actually send it? It's a thought, isn't it? Or a friend that lives far away, rather than perhaps an email or a text or a phone call. It is nice to get post that's not bank letters and things like that. So yeah, see what you think, see what you can do, and hopefully you enjoyed the poem, and I'm really looking forward to meeting you when you come up to Bydales. That'll be really exciting, and we can have lots of fun in our English lessons and do lots of brilliant work and build on all the amazing things you have done in English at primary school, and we can't wait to meet you. So my name's Miss Goodall. I hope you've enjoyed the lesson, and we look forward to meeting you properly very soon at school. I'm just going to turn my laptop off now. Everybody have a lovely summer.